It was a moment that sent shockwaves across political talk shows and lit up social media feeds like a wildfire. On a live television broadcast meant to cover the usual talking points and partisan banter, something completely unexpected happened. Karoline Leavitt, the young and fiery Republican spokeswoman, faced off against Democratic Representative Jasmine Crockett, and what unfolded was nothing short of electric. It started out just like any other political debate segment. The host introduced both women, setting the stage for what was expected to be a standard back-and-forth exchange. Jasmine Crockett, known for her outspoken style and unfiltered delivery, didn't waste any time. She launched straight into an aggressive critique of Republican policy, labeling it as out of touch, divisive, and harmful to everyday Americans. Her voice was sharp, her delivery passionate, and she clearly came ready to land political punches. Karoline Leavitt, sitting across with a composed demeanor, let her finish. The camera cut to Leavitt as the host gave her the floor, and for a moment, there was silence. What happened next turned the entire conversation on its head. With calm confidence, Leavitt began to dismantle Crockett's points one by one. Didn't raise her voice, didn't interrupt, but her words hit harder than anyone expected. She started with a line that immediately caught everyone off guard. It's hard to take criticism seriously from someone who thinks shouting louder equals being right. The studio went quiet for a split second, a silence that always follows when someone drops a rhetorical bomb. Crockett, caught off guard, leaned back slightly, her expression momentarily frozen. But Leavitt wasn't done. She followed with a barrage of facts, figures, and well-rehearsed arguments. On inflation, on the border crisis, on crime rates, each point meticulously referenced and presented with striking clarity. What made the moment truly stunning wasn't just the content of what Leavitt said, it was how she said it. Calm, precise, and relentlessly on message. It was the political equivalent of a surgical strike. Crockett tried to interject, her usual fire ready to erupt, but the host asked her to let Leavitt finish. The audience, both in studio and at home, was visibly gripped. Even the pundits seated on the panel could be seen raising their eyebrows, stunned at the composure and precision of Leavitt's takedown. Then came the moment that everyone would be talking about afterward. As Crockett accused Republicans of ignoring the voices of minority communities, Leavitt responded with a devastating counter. She looked directly into the camera and said, "The real insult to minority communities is assuming they need the government to save them. What they need is opportunity, not pity. They need jobs, not handouts. And they need leaders who believe in them, not politicians who exploit them for votes." That line hit hard. The panel was visibly shaken. Even the host, who had moderated countless political debates, looked taken aback. Crockett's attempt to pivot fell flat. She tried to shift the conversation toward social justice, but the momentum was gone. Leavitt had seized the moment, and the audience knew it. What had started as a routine segment had turned into a defining moment of live television. Social media exploded. Clips of the exchange were instantly cut and shared. The phrase "Karoline Leavitt silences Jasmine Crockett" started trending within the hour. Political commentators from both sides of the aisle weighed in. Even those who didn't agree with Leavitt's politics admitted she had delivered a performance few could ignore. Conservative commentators hailed her as a rising star. They praised her ability to articulate complex issues in simple, relatable language. One pundit called her a communications juggernaut. Others said it was the kind of moment that could catapult a young political voice into national prominence. On the other side, some Democrats tried to downplay the moment, accusing Leavitt of using rehearsed lines and GOP talking points. But even then, there was an undercurrent of respect, or at least recognition, that she had dominated that segment. Jasmine Crockett, to her credit, addressed the exchange afterward. In a social media post, she acknowledged that the segment didn't go as planned. She stood by her positions but conceded that Leavitt came prepared and delivered. It was a rare moment of grace in a world of non-stop political combat. What makes this moment stand out isn't just that one woman out-argued another. It's what it revealed about the changing nature of political communication. The days of loud shouting and emotional appeals dominating the conversation may be giving way to a new era of strategic, sharp, and well-delivered messaging. And Karoline Leavitt seems to understand that better than most. She didn't just win a debate. She demonstrated how powerful calm conviction can be when paired with knowledge and timing. She didn't just go on the attack, she surgically dissected every claim and rebutted it with facts, not just feelings. But beyond politics, the moment was a masterclass in public speaking and composure. Whether you agreed with her or not, it was hard not to be impressed. In an age where viral moments often rely on drama and outbursts, Leavitt showed that intelligence and poise still have a place, and can still steal the show. In the days that followed, news outlets picked up the story. Talk shows analyzed the clip frame by frame. Political strategists called it a blueprint for how to handle live confrontations. Leavitt was invited to more interviews, more panels, more spotlight. Her star was clearly on the rise. And Jasmine Crockett, she will undoubtedly bounce back. She's no stranger to controversy, and her base remains loyal. But even she would probably admit that in that moment, in that studio, Karoline Leavitt took control of the conversation and didn't let go. Some are calling it one of the most brutal political comebacks on live TV in recent memory. Others see it as a warning shot, a signal that young conservatives are no longer just talking points in suits. They're coming prepared, armed with data and determination, and they're ready to change the game. Whatever side of the political spectrum you fall on, one thing is certain. This was not your typical debate moment. It was a showcase of political power, eloquence, and clarity. And it's a moment that will be replayed, analyzed, and remembered for a long time. Karoline Leavitt didn't just win an argument that day. She left a mark. She showed that you don't need to shout to silence someone. You just need the right words at the right time, delivered with fearless precision. And in the arena of live television, that might be the most powerful weapon of all. The momentum from that exchange didn't just stop at viral clips and cable news segments. Within 24 hours, Karoline Leavitt's name was being mentioned in political circles across the country. Political action committees began floating her name as a potential rising leader, and her followers on social media skyrocketed. It wasn't just conservatives paying attention. Moderates and independents, intrigued by her message and delivery, started tuning in as well. Behind the scenes, insiders from both parties were reportedly analyzing the clip for what it meant strategically. One Republican strategist noted, Karoline didn't just win that segment, she exposed how vulnerable some progressive narratives are when they go unchallenged by someone who's both articulate and fearless. And that's exactly what Leavitt had done. She didn't rely on theatrics, she relied on being relentlessly prepared. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett, while momentarily stunned by the exchange, wasn't down for long. A skilled debater and a tenacious fighter, Crockett appeared on other media platforms to defend her positions and regain control of the narrative. But the comparison to Leavitt's calm dismantling of her arguments kept being brought up. Whether fair or not, it was clear that Leavitt had raised the bar, and Crockett would have to adjust. In subsequent interviews, Leavitt was asked about the exchange. Her response was pointed, but measured. She said, "I respect anyone willing to engage in honest debate, but the American people are tired of empty slogans. They want answers. They want leadership, and they want truth that's rooted in facts, not emotion." That response only fueled the narrative that she was more than a mouthpiece. She was a message carrier for a new generation of conservative voices. Young, sharp, unapologetic, and effective. What also set Leavitt apart in that moment was her refusal to engage in the personal jabs that have become common in politics. She didn't insult Crockett's character. She didn't throw shade or sarcasm. Instead, she took aim at policies, at rhetoric, and at the fundamental ideas being pushed forward. And that's part of why it worked. It wasn't personal. It was powerful. As pundits continued to dissect what made the moment go viral, one thing became clear. People are craving authenticity, but they're also craving clarity. And Leavitt's performance offered both. It wasn't just a moment. It was a masterclass in how to win an argument without raising your voice. Political observers have now started comparing Leavitt to other breakout stars who began with a single moment and rode the wave to greater influence. While it's too early to say where her career will go, this exchange may very well have been the catalyst for her next chapter, whether that's in media, politics, or both. Meanwhile, within activist circles, the reaction was more divided. Some saw Leavitt's comments as an attack on the social justice movement. Others, however, admitted that she had effectively challenged certain narratives that have gone largely unchecked in mainstream discussions. The debate between individual empowerment and government dependency is not a new one, but Leavitt's delivery made it feel fresh, especially to younger viewers. Her stance that opportunity should replace pity resonated with many who feel alienated by identity politics and want a renewed focus on merit, ambition, and unity. The moment has also sparked conversations about how political messaging is evolving. It's no longer just about passion, it's about packaging. And Leavitt, whether intentionally or intuitively, understood that better than most. She knew when to pause, when to punch, and when to let silence do the talking. Her performance was just as much about delivery as it was about content, and that's what made it so unforgettable. As the weeks go by, the ripples from that exchange continue. Campaign strategists are studying it. College debate teams are referencing it. Media analysts are framing it as a turning point in televised political debate. It was a reminder that in the age of instant outrage and constant noise, calm confidence can still break through. It also reminded people that a comeback doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be sharp. Karoline Leavitt didn't just silence her opponent that day. She silenced the notion that young conservatives can't hold their own in hostile territory. She proved that being articulate and assertive isn't reserved for one side of the aisle. And more importantly, she showed what happens when preparation meets the perfect moment. Some call it a takedown, others a wake-up call. But one thing is for sure, it was unforgettable. As political tensions continue to rise and 24-hour media cycles keep spinning, this exchange will be studied for years, not just for what was said, but how it was said, and what it meant for the future of political debate. Because when someone like Karoline Leavitt steps into the arena and delivers like that, people take notice. And when she walks out not just standing, but standing taller, well, that's when you know a new contender has arrived. And for everyone watching that day, whether cheering, fuming, or simply stunned, it was clear that something significant had just happened. A political voice had broken through the noise. A new presence had demanded attention. And Jasmine Crockett, a formidable voice herself, had just experienced the kind of challenge that forces even seasoned politicians to reevaluate their approach. One thing is certain. This won't be the last time Karoline Leavitt grabs the spotlight, but it might just be the moment that launched her into it.